Hello, and welcome to the Sage Extended Enterprise Suite Video on Demand series. Get the most out of what you've got. In today's session, what we'd like to do is encourage you to think of different ways of improving your personal productivity and time management. Give you some valuable tips and tricks that you can apply with your existing technology and better understand how new technology or technology you may already own can help. We'd like you to start thinking of different ways how you can help other people in your organization, and in the end it will come back and help you. And of course, provide you contact details to help advance your understanding of CRM, customer relationship management, and other similar topics within the Extended Enterprise Suite. So what we'd like to do today is take a step backwards to move forward. And this is a quote that I love from Zig Ziglar. And I really want us to take this concept to heart over the next 55 minutes. I can have everything I want if I just help enough other people get what they want. Too often in our reactive society with our emails and faxes and SMS messages and text chats and phone calls, and we really just react to the volumes of interactions that are coming into us. We don't often understand how those interactions and understanding what happened in those interactions could benefit other people in the organization. So we're going to take an altruistic stand today, and we're going to think of other people in our organization first, and then come back and see how it would help us. The first thing I'd like to talk about is a common role across all people in organizations. In large organizations, we have the luxury of having some very specific job descriptions. Vice President of Marketing, Directors of Marketing, Lead Qualification, Marketers, Writers, Sales VPs, Sales Directors, Sales Supervisors, Sales People. We've got some pretty specific roles in large organizations. Small and mid-sized organizations don't have that luxury all the time. Quite often we're vice presidents of sales and marketing. We're CEOs and vice presidents of sales. We are AP, AR clerks and receptionists at the front desk, and an order entry clerk, by the way. So we have these gray areas. We have these cross-functional roles in small and mid-sized businesses that we don't always have in the larger organizations. The common theme across all of those is, regardless of whether I'm a bookkeeper or a CEO, I'm an account manager. We are all account managers. What is an account manager by definition? In my opinion, an account manager is somebody that speaks with customers, prospects, partners, and internal staff to rectify issues. We interact with all of those folks. We need a system where we can go and look up a customer and see what order they placed, or look up a customer and see what inventory item they bought, or look up a prospect and see the interactions we had with them before, look up a customer and see if they're late on their invoice, look up a vendor and see if we've paid them on time. So, even at the CEO or the highest of levels, when we deal with angry customers, do we have a place where we can go in and look up the customers and see the interactions they've had with our organization to prepare ourselves for that call? We are all account managers. What is your advantage in the small and mid-sized business arena? Well, it's quite simple. You live these cross-functional roles. You're already used to collaboration across multiple departments. You're already used to being able to walk down the hallway and then speak with the vice president or the owner. You're able to walk across the street and check inventories and talk to the guys and gals in the warehouse. You've already established a team environment out of necessity. You have to understand these cross-functional roles. You need to deal with each other for your business to run well. And that is a huge benefit, believe it or not. The reality is now many businesses are not using the tools that they have in place already or that are available to them to make these interactions, this collaboration, more effective. So let's establish a baseline or a foundation for success. Look, this applies in our personal life as well as our business life. Better, improved communication makes us better people, better employees, better fathers, better mothers, better sons, better daughters. So all of these ways that we communicate today, whether it's phone calls or letters, face-to-face, whether it's via the website or text messaging, if we can improve those communications, if we can be crystal clear in our need or our response, it would improve our day-to-day. We would get more tasks done. We would get them done more efficiently. The people receiving the correct information the first time would receive better service, would receive a better interaction. The problem we have today, whether it's a large or small size business, is simple: disparate systems. It really prevents us from having this ultimate, what I call pure communication or pure collaboration. We all work in our own silos of information. Finance has their technology, and operations has their technology, and sales has their technology, and marketing is outsourcing another technology. And we're all in our own little worlds when it comes to that key communication. Those interactions are very often not shared. So what's the solution? I think many times we make it much more complicated than it is. The solution is a central interaction and communication management system that allows everyone to work through their account manager role. So the example you see on the screen now is Sage CRM. This is part of the Extended Enterprise Suite for the MAS and ACPAC financial and operational products, and gives everybody in the organization access to the data they need to help your customers, partners, prospects, and internal employees. The example you see here in the yellow at the bottom is we had an engineer to go out and replace a component for this customer. The sales team sent them an amended quote and then faxed it to them per the customer's request. The quote is there and available to me to see. Our executive team calls to introduce themselves when we have new customers. They place an order over a certain amount. We did a follow-up in our pre-sales environment or for a demonstration or a sample product or whatever that is. Here's a key one. We do lots of marketing. We do email blasts. We do trade shows. We send out brochures. How do we know what it is our customers are getting? With this interaction and communication management system, when that brochure letter gets sent out, it's right here under the customer file for anyone who answers the phone to open and review back with the customer. What about our financial interactions, our payables, our receivables, when invoices are sent, when we follow up because they're late? This is really critical information to the sales team, and often finance doesn't recognize that. It's important for us before we sell to know if the customer is on credit hold, if they're difficult to collect from. That's how I prioritize my sales opportunities. But in our disparate systems today, I can't see that information unless I call finance and waste their time. So we've sort of established a baseline that communication is our foundation for success in life as well as business. So let's think about how people are communicating today. On January 1st of this coming year, people that were born in the 90s are going to be in their 20s. These are our entry-level employees. These are consumers. These are kids that are going into college or have been in college for a couple of years. These are our order entry clerks. These are our bookkeepers. These are people that communicate in a very different way than we did even 10 years ago. People born in the 80s are now going to become 30. What does that mean? Well, that means they're executives in our organizations. They're supervisors. They've got 5-7 years in the workforce. They're leaders now. And they also communicate very differently than we did 10 or 15 years ago. So ask yourself a question. As an individual, do you consider yourself a customer-focused person? Would you like to give excellent customer service to whoever contacts you, whether it's a fellow employee or a partner or a prospect or a customer or your son or your daughter? Would you like to give them an excellent response every time? Would you like to have an answer to their question? Now spread that out to the rest of your organization. I think it's human nature for most people to want to help other human beings. That altruistic thought process that we started here. The fact of the matter is if a high majority of our people feel the same way we do, then do we consider our organization customer-centric? Do we want our organization to be on the same page and be able to give the best service possible to employees, partners, customers, and prospects? So we talked about these 20s and 30-year-olds and how they communicate differently coming into the workforce and being the people buying the brunt of our products and services in many cases. So have you heard this? The reality of today is that if we're to succeed as a business and we're to provide that excellent customer service, we need to communicate how our customers and how our employees and how our partners and how our prospects want to communicate. No longer can we take the stance that if it's important enough, they'll call me. If someone in their 20s sends a text message or someone in their 20s or 30s sends an email, it is as important to them as them placing a phone call. So on the receiving end, you not sending back a text message or responding to their email is like them calling you and leaving you a voicemail and you not calling them back. Simple fact of the matter is that this is nothing we can change. It's the way our society is today. If it is important enough, they will call me, doesn't fly. So our internal communication and interaction management system really should have integration to some text messaging. This example is Skype. What about social networking? This example is LinkedIn. Social networking really gives us an environment of networking without us having to go down to the church or the community center or the networking events. Now, don't get me wrong, I prefer to go see people face-to-face in many cases. But if I am that vice president of sales and marketing, and I'm certainly not an expert on marketing, I've been selling most of my life. Marketing just happens to be an additional tagline they give me. I can go to a social networking site and I can ask people, hey, how do I get more traffic to my webpage? And I can have people that are experts in marketing give me feedback, give me things to try. This is more efficient use of my time. This is interaction and communication management. So we've established our foundation for success, communication, improved communication, communicating the way people want to communicate today, not the way I insist they communicate with me. And so what are we accepting? We're accepting the fact that we deal with 10 times as many interactions as we used to. If all I had to worry about was responding to my voicemails, I could make it through the day. But that's not all I have to worry about. So what component do we have to lay on top now of this communication blitzkrieg that we're seeing here to be able to handle these communications appropriately? Well, it's time management. How many of us have heard about time management techniques and know we should probably try them, but just have not taken the time, ironically enough, to do so? Well, there's technologies today that can help you take these methodologies and build them into systems that you're already using. So think about this. How much time do you waste? And I'm going to call it waste because there are ways to rectify this. Searching in your inbox for anything, for something. Chasing down manual documents. Re-entering data into other systems. Listening or leaving voicemails. Filling out spreadsheets. Answering the same questions over and over and over again for customers via email or via phone. How much time do you spend doing any of these things? How much time do you spend searching for stuff? Think about that time and put it in the back of your mind. Here's a reality. You can't save time. I don't care how many books you read. I don't care how many CDs you read. I don't care how many motivational speakers tell you you can. The fact of the matter is that if you work 8 hours, you have 480 minutes in the day. And right now the time is ticking. You can't save them and store them and re-go use them later. You can't stop time from moving forward. You can only manage the time that you have better. So of all those things we just talked about that were time wasters, let's go back to our communication example. So let's throw out the number 100, and that's probably low for most of you that are listening to this presentation. Between your phone calls, your text chats, your email, your meetings, your personal visits, your interactions with employees internally, we all do probably well more than 100 interactions in a day, or we try to. There's 200 of them out there, 300 of them out there if we had the time to do them. So how do I make sure that I have prioritized and I'm accomplishing my most important tasks? How do I know what I'm doing to manage my time better? Well, let's talk about one of the tools that we're using today, and that's Outlook. So think of a meeting you had today or yesterday and your little reminder popped up 15 minutes before. What's the first thing you did? Well, you probably snoozed it. And then another reminder came up 5 minutes later, and then you probably snoozed that again. And then it reminds you right at the time you're supposed to be at the meeting, and you dial in real quick, or you rip that report off of your printer and you run down the hallway just to make it in time. We really don't use Outlook as a time management tool. We use Outlook not to be late. We use Outlook as a way to remind us that we've got something, we're not even sure we remember what it is, coming up on the hour. So we've got this whirlwind of communications. We've got a system that we're using most likely to track these appointments and these calls and these tasks. Primarily Outlook, if you're using Lotus Notes or GroupWise or whatever other calendaring system. That's what we're using these for, is to maintain all of these tasks and interactions. So how are you setting yourself up for success? Well, you're already documenting many of these tasks. Your meetings, your appointments, your visits to customer sites. And then you can simply categorize them. Well, I've got a personal visit with this customer. I've got an AR collection call. Our vendor overcharged us per minute on our phone line, our 800 phone line. I've got a call with them to get that rectified. So we're going to categorize those. And then we're going to apply a duration of time. Now, on your calendaring system, you set aside from 8 to 9 o'clock. Okay? But I'm not sure you're tracking an actual duration of time there. You've blocked off some time on your calendar not to be late to that meeting, most likely. Is it really going to take you 60 minutes to accomplish this? Okay? So let's add in some new components here. You're already doing the first two for sure. And the third one, the system can figure out for you. And the fourth one, we're going to add one simple little component. And that is, let's prioritize this task. Let's grade this task. Let's give it an A, a B, a C, a D, or an F. Let's give it 5 stars to 1 star. Okay. However you want to prioritize these, it gives us the ability to make sure that we're getting our A's and B's done today. The C's and D's can move off, and the F's are really nice to haves, but hey, they're not going to be an A until next week. Now, setting yourself up to succeed is simple. Only fill 75% of your day with these tasks. Why 75%? Because you've got those inbound calls you're not expecting. You've got those meetings your boss forgot to invite you to. You get that call saying you got to pick up your kids a half an hour early. We cannot account for an entire day. We are not prepared and don't know some of the things that are going to come up. So fill, if you work 9 hours, 405 minutes of your day with tasks. No more. So are you using your current calendaring system to do this? To accomplish this level of prioritization? To really set yourself up to succeed today, tomorrow, this week, this month, and for the year? Many of us aren't. Within the Sage CRM or Extended Enterprise Suite system, we've added some things to the task management solution. This is a task screen, and you can see in the details, the large box in the middle, that I trained myself and I have my staff, for every meeting they have, they need to set some objectives for themselves. In this meeting, I want to set 3 specific items that I can apply immediately about time management. I want to gather follow-up contact details in case I have any question. I want to bring home 3 items that I can pass on to my team. I want to create a follow-up task immediately to follow up on this training and make sure I've got next steps. And the one you can hardly read there is there any recommended reading to enhance this time management meeting that I'm going to have? But the keys here now are, since I've already created this appointment anyway in my calendaring system, look at the yellow spots on the left-hand side. I give it a pre-grade and I give it a duration of time. Okay? Why is that important? Well, I'm already creating these tasks anyway in my Outlook. But within the Sage CRM system or the Extended Enterprise Suite system, or your interaction and communication management system, if you're not using the Sage Financial Suites, I have a report already created that tells me my day, that gives me my tasks. I can sort by the grade. It gives me the details of those tasks and the expected duration of time, and you can see at the bottom that I have set myself up to fail. I have set up 505 minutes today without the unexpected stuff being available. I have not set myself up to succeed. I didn't have to do any additional work. This is a report that's already created in our interaction management, communication management system. So now when I've got my phone calls and my meetings on my calendar in this Extended Enterprise Suite, I can sort my calls by their grade. You can see down the right-hand side. I can make sure my A's, my B's, my C's get knocked out appropriately. Okay. I can now, when I complete these tasks or these appointments, do a little follow-up work. So I went to my time management meeting, and I'm going to give it a post grade now. I'm going to grade how I thought it went. And then I'm going to put in a little note, what was done well and what could be improved. Why is this important? It's important because at the end of the day, I take 5 minutes and I'm going to review my day. I'm going to look at all the tasks I accomplished, all of the time that I was working. I'm going to see my pre-grade and then my post-grade, which got better, which got worse. And then I can review what I felt was done well and what could be improved as an individual. Now, this is for me individually. If you're managers out there, imagine being able to run daily reports or monthly reports and sit down with your employees and talk to them about what they think they're good at and what they think they could improve. How many of us managers out there take the appropriate amount of time to do our biannual or semi-annual assessments of our employees? Boy, we're already handling 100 tasks a day. Do we really have time to take 2, 3, 4 hours to sit down and give an honest evaluation of our employees? If you do, wonderful. But I just think we've become such a reactive society and handle so much volume that very few managers have time to do appropriate assessments. Imagine having a tool that gives you a daily assessment of what your staff thinks they're good at and what they can improve on, and walking up to Lisa midday and saying, hey, I noticed that you were a little frustrated with your time management recently. Here's a great book that I recommend you read. And when you sit down to do your assessments at the end of the year, you've already got these personal assessments done from them. And you can add your manager's notes in addition. So this is about the human experience. This isn't just about tracking tasks. Sure, we can prioritize our tasks now. Sure, we can handle these tasks more efficiently. Sure, we can make sure we get our highest priority tasks done, which we're not doing today. But we also add the component of understanding and learning what we're good at and what we're not so good at. How does it benefit me personally? Well, this is my inbox. $16 or 17 emails in my inbox. I support 300 plus business partners. I support a lot of internal activities with Sage CRM. I do business development strategy and design marketing and sales plans for partners. I do a lot of public webcasts, a lot of public speaking. I really love what I do. Not sure if that's relevant, but the fact of the matter is that I'm not busy. I imagine I deal with over 100 emails a day, plus phone calls, plus the meetings, plus the public events, plus recording these webcasts. The fact of the matter is that because I use a prioritization system, because I use a time management system, I have the ability to make sure that things don't fall through the cracks. If I respond to an email, it gets filed in our CRM, our interaction management and communication management system. If I respond to an email and the conversation is done, I delete that email. If I want to save that email for future reference, I move it to a folder on the left-hand side, and I also store it in my CRM system. Do you get emails from people that say, hey, Bill, I haven't heard from you on this yet? Do you have to send those emails? Never again with an appropriate time management and productivity management system. So you know what? That team effort concept we talked about, that altruistic concept we talked about. We've talked about communication management. We've talked about now how are we going to handle more communications in less time? How are we going to handle them more effectively, more efficiently? How are we going to understand what we're good at as individuals? How are we going to understand what we're good at as a team? How are we going to understand as an organization what we could improve? We've got team building exercises built into this. It's a great leadership tool, and it really improves the human experience because I am now providing tools to my staff so they can learn basically what they need to do to grow. So they can look back on their day and they can say, wow, I put a lot of effort into today. It was a successful day. And now I can go home to my kids and not really stress about all that work I have tomorrow because I did my best today. So as an organization, if we are thinking altruistically, if we are thinking of everyone else first, we need to provide them these tools that give them the ability to accomplish that. So back to our common role, our account management role. You know, how often are you answering the same question in email? Let's use that as an example. Got a few listed here for you. With our interaction and communication management system, we can build email templates into the system. So if you're getting these redundant questions every time, all you have to do is click new email, select the template, and send. And it's not just, here's the link to the website, or here's the document you asked for. It's a nice, concise, polite, friendly email response to a common question, because every time we interact with customers, partners, and prospects, it's a marketing piece. It should have the appropriate contact information on it. Right? It should have little tidbits or pieces of information about products or services attuned to that specific customer. So let's move out of communication interaction management a little bit, and let's tie it back to a specific process. All right, and I selected one process, and there's probably hundreds of different processes that this would apply to, but bear with me. This is a credit application process. So think about how this works in your business. A salesperson has been working months on trying to sell this customer your products or services or get a donation, whatever it is. Okay? Once that customer or prospective customer decides that they want to pay for the value that your organization provides, but they can't afford to put it on their credit card or they can't afford to give you a check, they want to apply for terms. You give terms. Wonderful. So the salesperson searches for a credit application somewhere on the intranet. Maybe it's on their hard drive. Might be an old one. Might not be. Not sure if they know. Or they call someone in finance and say, hey, I need a credit application. That person forwards it to them. And then they type up an email real quickly saying, hey, John, go ahead and fill this application out, and we'll get you some terms and get that order placed for you. 7 out of 10 times, that application comes back incomplete. Now the salesperson gets that email back from the customer with the application attached, and they don't bother to look at it. They forward it on to finance. Finance finally digs it out of their outbox or their inbox, open it up, see the application's incomplete, close it back, send it back to the salesperson and say, hey, this is incomplete. Salesperson forwards it back to the customer, prospect, and says, we need you to fill out sections 2 and 3 and sign the bottom also, please. Once they dig it out of their inbox, it comes back to us. The salesperson probably reviews it this time, sends it back via email to finance saying, okay, I think they got it complete now. Finance does their diligence, right? They check the DMB, they run a credit check, they do whatever it is that they do in finance to approve or deny the terms for this particular customer. So once they've approved, we'll use the example of approving this, then they have to retype all of that customer information, name, company name, shipping address, all of those optional fields that you fill out, how do they prefer to be shipped to, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. They have to retype that into their financial package. Then they send an email back to sales saying they're approved and here's their customer number and you can go ahead and place an order for them now. Salesperson enters the order into a system or sends the order from a spreadsheet or writes it out manually, puts it in somebody's box, and then the order is placed. This process takes anywhere from 2.5 to 3.5 hours, not right away, not all in sequence, right? But in a series of 10 minutes, 30 minutes here, got to dig it out of my inbox there, got to call the customer back and help them fill it out. Okay. So with an interaction management and communication management system, imagine if the salesperson just clicked one button. So they've been working with this prospect the whole time. And all the communications that with this prospective customer are stored in your communication management system under communications in the upper left-hand corner. So once they decide, we get to the process of, okay, they want to apply for terms. In the lower right-hand corner, the salesperson pushes a button that says request credit. The system automatically launches an email that's already been created with the current credit application attached that says, thank you for your interest in us. As discussed, I've included a credit application. Please fill out sections 1, 2, and 3 completely. Make sure you sign it at the bottom, fax it to this number, and re-email it back to me. And by the way, when we do receive it, we're going to check your DMB, we're going to run your credit, we're going to do all that diligence, and then I'll let you know if we're approved. Pre-typed. The application now comes back, because it has detailed instructions, 8 out of 10 times complete instead of 7 out of 10 times incomplete. When that salesperson clicked that credit out request credit button, it created these tasks. It launched the email, and all I got to do is send it. It also reminded me 2 days later to call the customer back. It set aside 15 minutes. It gave it a B rating. Call back and make sure they filled out the credit application appropriately. It also created a notification for finance saying, hey, by the way, just wanted to let you know these guys are applying for credit. When that information or that email comes back complete, it gets stored in this communication management system. The application goes into the document library automatically, and it alerts finance. It says, hey, credit app is available. Would you please approve or deny this credit application? So now finance has a list of these approve and deny tasks with 15 minutes set aside for each one in their interaction communication management prioritization system. So these become A's. Obviously they become A's because we can place orders. Cash is the lifeblood of our business, right? Selling stuff. So to finance, getting credit applications approved and getting an AR customer created is a very high priority. Notifies them on screen, says, hey, can you go ahead and do your diligence? Finance person does their diligence. They're going to approve them. They just click a button that says promote to customer. And they don't have to retype anything back into the financial solution. It's all done for them. The customer number is created. And a notification gets sent back to the salesperson saying, hey, they're all set up. go ahead and place your order. So we've reduced a potentially 2, 3, 4 hour process to 45 minutes. We'll round it up to an hour. Let's say we've saved an hour and a half. Do you do 5 credit applications a month? Let's go low. Let's say 5. So that's 7.5 hours of time that we have saved. So what is the value of labor, right? What is the value? What would the salesperson do with that additional 2 hours? What would the finance person do with that additional 2 hours? And remember, that was only one example of an automated process between finance and sales. So let's talk about the value of labor here real quick. Let's say our average cost of employee is $60,000. Their computer, their pay, their 401k, whatever it is. We work a little over 2,000 hours a year. That's $30 an hour it costs us per employee for labor. We've already agreed that, and this is probably even low, that we spend 25 to 30% of our time searching for stuff. Calling somebody, asking them about stuff, because I don't have access to the information. Doing redundant work, like that credit application process we talked about. What if we can reduce that? Or that's $18,000 committed per employee per year to paying them to look for stuff because we don't give them access to information. What if we can reduce that to 15%? It's $9,000 per employee that we can commit to proactive activities, that we can free up to do things that we do, like selling for salespeople, or like data analysis or AR collections for finance folks. Those are higher priorities to them than doing redundant work. Huge value to communication and interaction management and sharing those details across your entire organization. So we've talked about text messages, emails, phone calls. We've talked about those, personal visits. We've talked about the interactions, but there's one component of communication that we haven't talked about, and that's sharing data or sharing information. So what I'm about to show you now is screenshots of the Sage CRM solution. In this particular case, it's integration with the Sage ACPAC financial and operational suites. It already exists for the Sage Mass products. And the ease of integration with the Sage CRM solution allows us to integrate to any financial package that you're using. So let's give you some examples. Would it be important to you as a salesperson to know the customer's credit limit, to know if they're on credit hold, and to know what their balance due is before you try and place an order? It's the last day of the month. Customer calls in. You write down their order. You're excited. It's $7,000. You're going to hit your quota. You send that order off to finance, and in a half hour or 20 minutes later, finance calls you back and says, we can't place this order. The customer's on credit hold. Who gets to call that customer back? I've never been able to get a finance person to call the customer back. I have to call them back in sales, wasting another 20 or 30 minutes. Wasted time for finance, wasted time for sales, because I don't allow them to see if the customer's on credit hold in advance. I'm going to be very clear on this. Everything I show you is available, but security allows you to limit what people can see also. I'm just showing you a lot from a high level. So what about sales orders? What did they order last time? Do we have inventory on hand? What discount did we give them last time? What's the specific pricing for this customer? Etc., etc., etc. Think of all of the questions that you have to answer for people because they do not have access to order entry for this example. What about receivables? We are all account managers. How often as an AR clerk or an AP clerk do I handle my job without actually having to enter in data? Could I use an account management solution that allows me to look at receipts and prepayments and invoices, answer customer questions right from this screen, drill down to specific line items per invoice, etc.? Oh, and by the way, if you look up top, the 6th tab from the left, I can track that communication in our interaction management system. So sales knows that I'm doing all of these collection calls. Sales knows they've got 4 outstanding invoices. They don't have to know how much, but they know not to call this customer and try and sell them stuff. It's a waste of their time. What about inventory items? What about inventory items by warehouse, multiple warehouses? Do I have to call people to find this information? What about the optional fields that we use within our solution? What about project and job costing? Contracts? What about information? How often do you answer information about, is this job done? When will it be complete? Who's the contact on the job? I can drill down to individual labor hours by project. I have information on inventory and item lookup. What about RMAs? Return material authorization. What about receivables, payables? What about purchase orders? You can see the customers on credit hold right here. Big red bar across the screen. Why would I place an order? Okay. Data sharing and data interaction is another form of communication that we're not doing. Ask yourself right now, how many hours a week do you spend answering questions on that kind of data? Salespeople, marketing people, how many hours a week do you spend calling finance or operations to get information that you don't have access to? Add those hours up, folks. Let's take a low hourly number. And let's use this one specifically. How many hours a month is sales contacting finance? Do we have inventory on hand? Are they on credit hold? How much terms do they have left? Can we contact this customer and pay down their terms with a credit card so I can place this order? What's their price for this item? Do we have inventory on hand, etc., etc.? How many hours a month, especially the last 2 days of the month, do we spend? Let's use the number 8, because I know that's a low number. So I don't have to call finance or operations any longer because I have access to inventory. I have access to, are they in credit hold? I have access to their terms. I have access to their orders and their quotes. Okay? I sell $300,000 a year in stuff as a salesperson. I work 2,000 hours. That's $150 an hour that I sell. 8 hours selling, not calling other people in the organization, is $14,400 a year in increased revenue. More commissions in my pocket. Times 10 salespeople, that's $140K. It's also 8 hours a month that finance is not having to answer those questions. Our interaction and communication management system from a data sharing perspective saves us hundreds, if not thousands of hours of wasted time. So speaking of interaction with finance, does this look familiar? This is an aged trial balance, or past due invoice report, as I like to call it. It's shocking to me that organizations print out reports and AR folks make calls from manual printed reports. Who see these notes? So if you're putting notes on the invoice itself, well, only finance sees that information. We've got, this is a realistic view from our collections folks. Right? The very top there, it says check number 2134 is in the mail. If that customer calls back tomorrow and this person's out sick, how do we know what that interaction, when it transpired, what happened? We don't. We have to start all over again. So what if an interaction and communication management system, when an invoice went past due, it created a screen that I could make collection calls from, that allows me to put communications and follow-up appointments on my calendar to collect cash faster? Well, not what if. This is available today. in the interaction communication management system we call Sage CRM. The bottom line is that we're trying to take people off of manual process and into an automated process that allows them to do their job more efficiently. It's not just about redundant work, it's also about dual data entry. Remember, I no longer have to retype those customers into AR customer. All that information that the salespeople gathered automatically get ported over or created when I promote that customer in mass or ACPAC. It's about our vendors. Right now, if you look at your phone bill and you see that they're charging you 3 cents a minute for your 800 number, and you could have sworn it was supposed to be 2.5, where's that contract? Is it in the CFO's file folder behind their desk? Why is it not in your interaction and communication management system stored electronically under AT&T or Rogers or TELUS or whatever your phone company is? Okay. One central location to go and share data and get information. So how do we become more efficient as an organization or as people? Well, we manage our time better because we've got more communications than we'll ever be able to handle. We do self-assessment on a daily, and the nice thing about this is that if people don't want to do that, we're not forcing them to, but I think you'll be surprised how many people would take advantage of these tools to put a little note in there to say this went well, this didn't go so well. People want to get better. People want to grow within the organization, but we're not forcing them to. No cutting corners. Find a process that works and use it. You learn from it and you improve process as you go. Reduce redundant work. Here's the critical one. If you did this alone, it would be worth every penny of deploying CRM. Give people access to data that they need to do their job efficiently without having to call somebody else. Hundreds, if not thousands of hours are wasted. You want to put a value on it? We already did. $14,400 per salesperson. 5 salespeople, $70K a year. It's a good business decision if you only invest 60, and you won't have to. You already have a teamwork mentality. Commit to a we're in this together mentality. Use the tools that are available to you within the Extended Enterprise Suite. So our foundation for success was improved communications, handling more communications through time management. And what does that mean to us? Well, I couldn't come up with an acronym. I'm not a word jumble guy. So here's my letters. But the bottom line is it means this. We're increasing revenue. We're reducing administrative costs. We're redistributing labor hours to proactive activities to improve customer service. The result is we become more interactive. In the beginning, we talked about how collaborative we were. Now we're more interactive through our data and communication sharing. We become more accurate because we're not calling and having somebody look something up from us and giving people information third party. We become more consistent because we're working through a central repository. We become more efficient because the same way we're reducing redundancy. We become accountable to each other a little bit. The organization wants to be a team and wants to improve. We become more reliable to each other because we're now accountable. We've freed up 8, 10, 12 hours a month, and we're more available to pick up the phone when people call and not send them a voicemail. We're more available when somebody has to ask us a question, and that builds trust internally and externally, which is all we can ask to improve our business. Increased revenues, decreased costs, improved customer service, increased employee satisfaction. What more could you want? If you thought you knew what CRM was before this presentation, throw it all out. We don't worry about the Salesforce automation, forecasting, opportunity management, pipeline building. We don't worry about the marketing automation and click-throughs and email blasts and and tying those back to sales. We don't worry about case management and knowledge base and customer self-service. We don't worry about all the alerts and notifications and the dashboards and the ability to customize this solution without using code. We don't worry about it, but it's all included also. From what we've shown you today, if we could save those hundreds or thousands of hours, it's worth every penny. It's a good business decision to deploy interaction and communication management across your organization. Let us help you evaluate. Let us help you understand where your disparate systems are. Let us evaluate your time management tools today. Let us give you some tips and tricks on how to improve what you're using today. If you have the Sage ACPAC or Sage Mass products, you have access to the Sage CRM solution already. If you're using another financial package other than Sage's, we can talk about integration to those solutions. But we can talk about all of the features and functions that we showed. Data sharing, communication and interaction management, process automation in your organization, regardless of whether you're using Sage solutions or not. Again, Sage ACPAC, functionality is included. Contact us. Send me an email. Give me a phone call. Follow me on LinkedIn or Twitter. We appreciate your time today. I'm hoping this was valuable. I truly believe that interaction and communication management is the key to success in business. Let us give you a free assessment and help you evaluate your needs. Have a wonderful afternoon. Thank you for joining us.